The scene shifted to Bright Town, where Lin Tian stood in the shadows, observing as the knights marched through the streets. The town's defenses had tightened unexpectedly, and Lin Tian noted the increased presence of patrols. Suspicion stirred within him as he pondered whether the Sword Saintess had already arrived, though he hadn't gathered any specific information confirming her presence despite his efforts throughout the day. The situation felt strange to him. As he reached a water fountain in the town square, something caught his attention. He looked closely at a notice board displaying the current adventure team rankings in Bright Town. The list was topped by the Blade Hero team, now ranked at Platinum level, followed by several other teams. Bashi Hero Team, Savior Hero Team, Windstorm Hero Team, Flame Hero Team, and Alchemy Hero Team. Lin Tian's gaze narrowed on the ranking, realizing that Loader's team had risen to the highest rank. Has he improved again? Lin Tian thought, I need to hurry and find more clues, or my plan for revenge might fail. As he mulled over his next steps, the lively sound of laughter broke through the air. A voice rang out from a nearby tavern, where a group of adventurers were celebrating boisterously. Today's my treat. Let's all drink to our heart's content. One of the men shouted, his voice familiar to Lin Tian. As the recognition set in Loader, he exclaimed, of all the places to cross paths with him again, it had to be here. Lin Tian quietly entered the tavern, where Loader sat at a table, surrounded by adventurers, his face flushed from drink. One of the men at the table was boasting about a recent near-death encounter with a four-armed ape, only to be saved at the last moment by Loader and Ephraia. The others at the table praised Loader's heroism, acknowledging that without his intervention, they wouldn't have stood a chance against the creature. Ephraia herself confirmed that without the captain, she wouldn't have been able to defeat the ape on her own. Across the tavern, a member of the Bashi Hero team, clearly unimpressed, muttered a challenge under his breath. He found it ridiculous that the Blade Hero team would boast about such a minor accomplishment. The tension quickly escalated as one of Loader's men shot back, telling him to get lost unless he wanted trouble. The Bashi team member, not one to back down, threatened to beat them up, despite their lofty Blade Hero status. The situation might have boiled over into a full-blown fight if not for the bartender, who stepped in to remind them that the real threat was far greater than tavern brawls. He informed the adventurers about recent dragon attacks on Dragon Island, which had escalated as the dragons entered their breeding season. The creatures had started to raid livestock and, worse, had even begun eating people. Hearing this, Lin Tian's attention sharpened. Dragons, he thought, intrigued by the potential chaos their presence could bring. The bartender expressed concern that if the dragons attacked Bright Town and the capital failed to send reinforcements in time, the town wouldn't stand a chance. The adventurers simply weren't equipped to fend off an entire dragon horde. Loader, however, scoffed at the idea of being afraid of a few dragons. With a smirk, he revealed that the Sword Saintess, his master, was already on her way to Bright Town. Once she arrived, they would join forces to slay the dragons, rendering any need for reinforcements from the capital obsolete. Loader confidently declared that their team would return to the capital with the Sword Saintess in triumph once the dragons were dealt with. The adventurers at the tavern were visibly excited by Loader's revelation, marveling at his ability to summon the Sword Saintess herself. Some doubted his claims, thinking he was merely boasting, while others fully believed that with the Sword Saintess at their side, there was no reason to fear the dragons. One man even went as far as to say that if they succeeded in repelling the dragons, Loader would become the hero of Bright Town. Loader, clearly reveling in the attention, announced that drinks were on him for the night, a celebration in anticipation of their forthcoming victory. Lin Tian, who had remained silent thus far, considered his next move. If the dragons attack the town, I must seize that opportunity, he thought. But just as he was about to leave the tavern, Loader called out to him, inviting him to join in the celebration. Lin Tian declined, and told him that there would be more opportunities in the future. Loader, sensing something off, remarked quietly that the stranger's refusal was strange, but Lin Tian was already gone. The scene then shifted to a poster being plastered across the town, announcing the arrival of the Sword Saintess in Bright Town. Not long after, Loder was seen speaking to his master, the Sword Saintess, about the increasing proximity of the dragons. They were getting bolder, and the villagers no longer dared let their livestock graze, for fear of losing them to the beasts. Loder expressed his concern that a dragon attack on the town was imminent. The Sword Saintess, unfazed, took up her sword and turned to Loder with a piercing gaze. She inquired about the progress of the task she had assigned him. Loder quickly reported that the 10 dragon-slaying crossbows had been completed according to her blueprints and were currently being deployed at strategic points around the town. She warned him to ensure they were positioned well, for if they failed, none of them would be of any use in the coming battle, and that would bring disgrace upon her name. As the Sword Saintess approached a crowd of onlookers, whispers filled the air. People marveled at her, many commenting on her commanding presence and beauty. One person even mused aloud, wondering what kind of man could ever win her heart, only to be quickly shot down by another, who insisted that even the Emperor wouldn't dare make a move on someone as powerful as the Sword Saintess. Her focus unwavering, the Sword Saintess instructed Loder to clear the crowd, as there was no time to waste with idle chatter. Loder, clearly nervous, quickly obeyed. Suddenly, chaos erupted as a dragon attacked Bright Town. The sky darkened with its massive shadow as it swooped down, causing villagers to flee in terror. The creature grabbed a person in its claws and flew off, leaving the town in panic. The Sword Saintess immediately identified it as a scout dragon, sent to survey the town. She warned that its appearance meant the dragon horde would soon follow. Without hesitation, she ordered Loder to gather his companions and follow her to the town's wall, where they would make their stand. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the shadows, a goblin rushed to Lin Tion's side, breathless from his reconnaissance. "Boss, the dragon is here," he exclaimed. "I just went to check it out, and there are many soldiers on the town's wall. What should we do?" Lin Tion, standing confidently with his army of goblins, smirked at the unfolding chaos. "I know," he said, his voice calm and calculated. "The time is almost here. Let's stay right where we are and enjoy the show." The scene shifted to the outskirts of Bright Town, where a horde of dragons advanced toward the city. Overhead, a fierce battle raged as dragons attacked from the skies. One of the dragons was shot down by the dragon-slaying crossbows, surprising Loder and Ephraia, who were defending the city walls alongside the other adventurers. The Sword Saintess, Alice Nia, looked over to a man, her voice calm but commanding. She asked if he and his men understood how to use the crossbows properly. The man said yes, and she gave the order for everyone to take their positions at the dragon-slaying crossbows and prepare to defend the town. The men scrambled to comply, quickly loading the crossbows and readying their weapons. Loading completed. "Ready," they shouted as they finished their preparations. At Alice's command, they unleashed a volley of powerful bolts into the sky. The air was filled with the thunderous sound of the crossbows firing, and the men marveled at the effectiveness of the weapons. The dragon-slaying crossbows were indeed formidable, and their shots brought down several dragons. But suddenly, one of the men noticed something ominous approaching from above. A shadow loomed large in the sky, and a piercing screech reverberated across the battlefield, causing some of the men to collapse in fear. Loder, his face pale with shock, recognized the creature. "Master, this is the purple golden dragon mother," he exclaimed. Panic spread among the soldiers as the massive dragon descended, its immense presence dwarfing everything around it. The men tried to ready their crossbows again, but the difference in strength was overwhelming. "The dragon-slaying crossbows can't even hurt her," one of them shouted in despair as the purple dragon glared down at them. With a roar, the dragon began preparing a devastating attack aimed directly at the town. Before the blast could land, the Sword Saintess stepped forward, her voice steady and resolute. "Don't panic," she commanded as she intercepted the dragon's attack with her own skill, blocking the fiery assault with a powerful move. She then turned to the others and ordered them to continue defending the city, while she would handle the Dragon Mother alone. With a swift movement, she activated an advanced attack called Sword Chi Torrent, sending a torrent of sword energy toward the dragon. From a distance, Lin Tian watched the battle unfold. He hadn't expected the Sword Saintess to be able to hold off the Dragon Mother so effectively, but he wasn't entirely surprised either. Though the Dragon Mother was a formidable foe, she was no ordinary dragon. The status window of the Purple Golden Dragon Mother appeared before Lin Tian's eyes, showing her incredible stats. Level 79. Race Ancient Dragon. Title King of Dragon Island. Health 4,100. Strength 510. Defense 580. Skills Zijin Dragon Flame, Demi-Human Transformation, Dragon Radiance, Ancient Call. Overall 2,900. Lin Tian mused over her power, but his attention quickly shifted to the Sword Saintess. Her status window appeared as well. Name Alice Nia. Level 80. Race Human. Class Sword Saint. Title Saintess of the Sword, Strongest Swordsman, Dragon Slayer, Top Human, Swordsmanship Genius. Health 1,700. Strength 690. Defense 700. Skills Sword Chi Torrent, Unity of Man and Sword, Iron Gale, Star Cleaver, Death Sword Reincarnation, Ancient Sword Intent. Overall 4,000. Lin Tian couldn't help but marvel at Alice's strength. This woman's power is truly abnormal, he thought. Fortunately, it's not me facing her. Otherwise, it would be a big problem. He noticed that while the Dragon Mother had more health, Alice's superior strength and defense gave her the advantage. However, he knew that even the Sword Saintess would not be able to defeat the Dragon Mother quickly, and this was the perfect opportunity for him to strike. The opportunity to take revenge against humanity has come, Lin Tian whispered to himself. He ordered his goblin forces to proceed into the city as planned. One group would create a disturbance, while another would lie in ambush. His goblins, eager to obey, prepared for their assault. Meanwhile, back in the city, Loader struggled to deal with the flying dragons. "These dragons are so difficult to fight," he grumbled. But despite the difficulty, he boasted about how fortunate they were to have their master, the Sword Saintess, helping them. "I'm also a dragon slayer now," he declared with pride. Suddenly, a scream echoed through the city. "Goblins are invading!" Someone shouted in terror. "What?" Loader yelled, taken aback. Ephraia, standing beside him, initially dismissed the idea, thinking it was a bad joke. "No way. Even goblins wouldn't dare appear here," she said. But the screams continued to grow as a woman nearby was attacked by the goblins. Loader cursed under his breath. With the dragons still attacking the city, he quickly gave orders. "There aren't many evil dragons left. You two hold them off while I deal with the goblins. Yavia, come with me," he commanded, and they rushed off to confront the new threat. As they ran through the city, Loader and Ephraia were ambushed by goblins hiding in the shadows. "Damn goblins! Don't!" Loader shouted, but it was too late. Ephraia was captured in the chaos, her cries for help ringing out as she struggled against the goblins. "Captain, help me!" she screamed, but Loader was quickly surrounded by goblins himself, unable to free her. Desperation set in as one of Loader's men tried to come to his aid. "Captain, I'm coming. Hold on," the soldier shouted. But before he could reach Loader, Lin Tian appeared from the shadows, swiftly taking down two of the knights with lethal precision. Loader and Ephraia, now fully aware of the danger they were in, looked on in shock. "I didn't expect you to be caught so easily," Lin Tian said coldly, his voice dripping with contempt. Loader, enraged, spat out a threat. "I'm going to kill you, lowly goblins," he shouted. Lin Tian responded with a brutal kick to Loader's face, knocking him down. "Look at the situation carefully before speaking," Lin Tian sneered. Turning to his goblins, he gave quick instructions. "Take these two out of the city through the sewers. The rest of you, come with me to deal with the crossbowmen at the city wall." "Yes, boss," the goblins replied, eager to follow his orders. As the chaos unfolded in the city, Alice, still engaged in battle with the purple golden dragon mother, sensed the disturbance. "What's going on?" she muttered to herself. Goblins actually dared to launch a surprise attack at this time? Before she could act on this new threat, the dragon mother, sensing an opportunity, taunted her. "What luck for you humans, being so busy among yourselves. Even the mighty sword saint is distracted." The dragon, now in her humanoid form, loomed over Alice as their battle raged on. The purple dragon, her eyes ablaze with fury, launched herself toward Alice, her claws aimed directly at her. Her intent to kill was clear as she charged, ready to strike her down. Without wasting time, Alice prepared herself for a powerful counterstrike. She resolved to see just how much more dragon blood could be spilled on this battlefield. With swift and deadly precision, she unleashed her most advanced sword technique, Steel Gale, her blade cutting through the air with incredible speed. The purple dragon let out a blood-curdling scream, the pain from Alice's attack tearing through her body. The fight with the dragon mother seemed nearly over, and Alice noted this with cold certainty. However, her thoughts briefly shifted to her comrades. She began to wonder about Loader, if he had managed to deal with the dragons and goblins on his side of the battle. Her attention snapped back to the present as a sudden explosion erupted in the distance, shaking the ground beneath her. The sound drew Alice's focus, confusion flashing across her face for a moment. Was the riot not resolved? What could this explosion mean? Amidst the chaos, the wounded purple dragon sneered, her voice filled with venom as she remarked on the timely arrival of the goblins. She was determined to survive and vowed that she would return once she had recovered from her wounds. Then, without hesitation, she turned and fled, escaping before Alice could strike again. Alice cursed under her breath, furious that the dragon had managed to slip through her grasp. She swore to herself that she would one day wipe out the entire dragon race on Dragon Island once she had fully recovered. But for now, her mind returned to Loader. She was growing increasingly frustrated with his apparent inability to handle the goblins, wondering aloud where he could be and why he hadn't yet succeeded. A man on the ground, breathless and panic-stricken, told her the dire news. Loader and Afreya had been captured by goblins. Alice's shock was immediate, unable to believe what she was hearing. The man continued, explaining that these goblins were unlike any they had encountered before. Their strength rivaled that of a great race, so much so that even Loader had been powerless to defeat them. Resolute and determined, Alice declared her intention to head straight to the enchanted forest to slaughter all the goblin tribes there. But just as quickly, others around her begged her to stay. They feared that if she left, the evil dragons or goblins might return and attack them again, leaving the temple and its citizens vulnerable. The people pleaded with her, reminding her of her duty to protect the Empire's citizens. Alice hesitated, torn between her sense of duty to her comrades and the responsibility she had toward the temple. She decided to remain. She resolved that Loader, though captured, had only himself to blame for his weakness. Unable to defeat the goblins, he would have to wait while she sought help from the royal family first. The scene shifted to the Goblin Tribe, where the leader had returned. The air was thick with anticipation as the goblins gathered, cheering for their leader's successful return. Afreya and Loader, prisoners of the goblins, had been brought with them. Afreya was pushed to the ground as the goblins barked orders for silence. Loader, restrained, noticed the number of elves being held in captivity. Afreya suggested that there might be a hero-tier goblin among them. Loader glanced toward Afreya and asked her if she had recovered at all, but her response was grim. The toxin she had been exposed to was potent, and it would take time for her sacred constitution to eliminate its effects. A figure approached. It was Lin Tion, who casually remarked that he hadn't expected the poison's effects to wear off so soon. He acknowledged Afreya's recovery abilities, but his voice carried an unsettling familiarity, one that shocked Afreya. How did he know her name? The answer remained unsaid as Lin Tian suddenly grabbed her thigh, his nails sinking into her flesh with malicious intent. She cried out in pain, while Loder, watching in horror, shouted for him to stop. A goblin intervened, striking Loder across the face for his outburst, reminding him to watch his tone. Loder, desperate, attempted to reason with Lin Tian. He spoke of the consequences of capturing them, warning that the strength of the Sword Saintess was more than enough to wipe out the entire Goblin Tribe with a single strike. But Lin Tian was unfazed. He revealed that the Sword Saintess was his prey too, though the time to face her had not yet come. Confident in his plans, he had already taken measures to cover their tracks, ensuring that no one, especially not Alice, would be able to find them. Without hesitation, Lin Tian issued orders to the Goblin Berserker, commanding him to take the second-generation goblins into the forest to kill more monsters and bring them back. The Goblin Berserker accepted the order with enthusiasm, eager to prove his strength. Lin Tian knew that the humans wouldn't let their recent actions go unanswered, but he was determined to complete the goblins' evolution process before they were discovered. Turning back to Loder, Lin Tian's expression darkened. He demanded answers from him, threatening to harm him further if he didn't cooperate. Loder, in growing fear, denied any involvement with goblin capture. Lin Tian was impatient, and without warning, he cut off Loder's ear, leaving him screaming in agony. Blood poured from the wound as Loder writhed in pain, cursing the goblin. Loder, still defiant despite his injuries, tried to justify his actions. Everything he had done, he claimed, was for the protection of the human race. It was his duty to defeat the monsters, even if it meant risking his life. Lin Tian, however, was unconvinced. He mocked Loder's supposed righteousness, accusing him of caring more about the status of his so-called hero's party than any noble cause. He questioned how much blood Loder had spilled in the name of his missions, implying that he was no better than the monsters he fought against. Loder and Afreya exchanged a glance, both unnerved by how much this goblin seemed to know about them. Lin Tian made it clear that the conversation was over. Unlike Loder, he had no need to pretend to be righteous. He openly embraced his nature as an evil monster, and now he would show Loder just how cruel he could be. As Lin Tian started to go to work on Afreya, Loder screamed in desperation, begging him to stop. Afreya cried out for Loder to save her, but there was nothing he could do. He watched helplessly, screaming over and over, as Lin Tian decimated Afreya. As Lin Tian pierced her, he said that he is returning her original words. He told her to hold on as the lesson was just beginning. He grabbed her neck and said he wanted to see if Loder will enjoy watching what the goblins will do to her. The scene shifts to a goblin walking away from Afreya, leaving her on the cold ground. As he approached another goblin, he signaled the change of guard. The goblin taking over wasn't pleased. His eyes narrowed as he barked angrily, reminding the first goblin that their boss had strict orders. She was to be kept alive at all costs. His voice was tense, filled with a sense of urgency and frustration. The first goblin, however, didn't seem bothered. He let out a low, menacing chuckle, brushing off the warning. With a grin, he reassured the other goblin, telling him that Afreya was still very much alive. There was no need for concern, though his dismissive attitude hinted at the violence she had already endured. Loder, lying bound nearby, could do nothing but watch. His mind raced with fear, pleading with her in silent desperation. Afreya, my Afreya, you must hold on, or these goblins will destroy you. Through sheer willpower, Afreya managed to whisper out a few words, her voice weak but steady. She tried to reassure Loder, telling him that she was fine, though the strain in her voice made it clear she wasn't. Her quiet words didn't go unnoticed. One of the goblins, overhearing the exchange, barked at Loder to shut up, silencing any further protests with raw violence. Meanwhile, in a different part of the camp, The prisoners were having a quiet conversation of their own. Kasana commented on the suffering of Ephraia and the others. Though her situation was bleak, she couldn't help but notice that, in comparison, she and her fellow prisoners had it somewhat better. At least they had food to eat, however meager. Yu chimed in, confirming something she had overheard. She recalled hearing Lin Tian mention that he harbored a deep grudge against humans. He had spoken of revenge before, and she believed his words now more than ever. Their conversation turned towards Lin Tian's nature. The Holy Mother, reflecting on what they had seen, remarked on how unique Lin Tian was. Unlike any other goblin she had ever encountered, he was powerful and dangerous, but there was something more to him, something that set him apart even from the rest of his tribe. She couldn't help but acknowledge the deep hatred that seemed to drive him. Kasana noticed the tone of the Holy Mother's words, a hint of admiration creeping into her voice. She questioned her gently, teasingly implying that the Holy Mother had developed a liking for Lin Tian, despite the terrible things he had done. The Holy Mother didn't deny it, though the conversation soon turned elsewhere. We now switch back to Lin Tian. A goblin rushed over to report news to their leader. The second-generation goblins who had gone hunting had returned earlier than expected. Lin Tian, surprised by their early arrival, wondered why they had come back so soon. As the goblins appeared before him, Lin Tian noticed the goblin's status window. It displayed, Goblin Warrior, Level 33, Race, Goblin, Class Warrior, significantly increased offense and defense. Title, Child of Elves, Blessed by the Gods, Monster Slayer. HP, 470. Strength, 142. Defense, 168. Skills, Snake Venom, Petrified Skin, Silent Step. Climbing, Iron Blood. Ferocity Fangs, Battle Cry. Overall, 500. The goblin explained that they had wiped out all the nearby monsters, forcing them to head west in search of more prey. There, they had encountered several high-tier goblins who were slaughtering goblin tribes. The mention of the west side of the forest piqued Lin Tian's interest. He immediately asked which tribe had been involved. The goblin identified the group as the Bloodfang tribe, a formidable clan of high-tier goblins. Lin Tian's eyes gleamed with interest. The Bloodfang tribe was indeed powerful, and he saw an opportunity. If they could capture the leader of the Bloodfang tribe, they could breed even stronger third-generation goblins. This would significantly increase their chances of surviving the extermination efforts of the humans. Lin Tian, always calculating, saw this as the next step toward ensuring his tribe's dominance. From where he lay bound, Loader couldn't remain silent any longer. He scoffed at Lin Tian's ambitions, calling him foolish for dreaming of survival while teetering on the brink of death. No matter how powerful the goblins became, Loader was certain that the knights would eventually defeat them. Lin Tian turned to Loader, remarking on how quiet he had been until now. He said that Loader hasn't gotten in line yet and ordered his goblins to go mate with Loader. As the goblins grabbed Loader, he screamed in fear. They spread Loader wide open and demolished him right beside Ephraia. The goblins, drunk on power and cruelty, took turns tormenting Loader. The horrors they inflicted on him were too vile for words, and after several hours, Loader lay on the ground, his eyes vacant, having endured unspeakable suffering. As the goblins gathered around a campfire, discussing their future plans, Lin Tian revealed that they would soon be attacking the Bloodfang tribe. He intended not only to attack them but also to capture their leader. This, he believed, would make their tribe the strongest in the region, and he had even decided on a name for his growing group, the Tianquang tribe. The goblins cheered at the news, shouting their leader's name in celebration. Yu expressed concern. The Bloodfang tribe was strong, having wiped out many other tribes already. The thought of attacking such a powerful group made her nervous. But Lin Tian was undeterred. His confidence was unshaken, and he assured them that they would succeed. Looking over at Ephraia, Lin Tian's eyes glinted with a sinister certainty. He still had a trump card he hadn't played yet, and he knew it would tip the scales in their favor when the time came. The scene shifted once more as Lin Tian observed the Bloodfang tribe from a distance. From his vantage point, he could see the layout of their camp, a perfect view for strategizing. He scanned their numbers and assessed their strength, finding them manageable despite their high-tier status. Yet something caught his attention. The goblins in the Bloodfang tribe were afraid, as if anticipating something. Lin Tian's heart raced with excitement as he realized what it was. The leader of the Bloodfang tribe was approaching, and he wasn't just any goblin. He was a hero-class goblin, a rare and powerful foe. Lin Tian's excitement grew as he saw the goblin's stats appear before him. It was a Warhammer Goblin, at level 50, race, Goblin, class high-rank warrior, title, Monster Slayer, Goblin Hero, blessed by the gods, breeding machine, HP 700, strength 239, defense 14, skills, Savage Hammer Strike, Great Strength Petrified Skin, Climbing Silent Step, equipment, Bone Hammer, overall 900,